Hello everyone, and welcome to another amazing story. Doki Doki Beneath the Eyes? Violet Fairy 1997 wrote this amazing story. Please support them. Don't forget to like, sub, and leave a comment. Now let's dive in. Ken's POV. December 21, 2017 Thursday morning, Old Hinode. Sleep had never felt this good. 8 hours of pure, dreamless void. No nightmares clawing at my mind. No cold sweat soaking through my sheets. Just darkness and rest, like my body had finally remembered how to shut down properly. I woke to sunlight filtering through my curtains. My shoulders felt strange, but in a good way. Lighter. Like someone had reached into my chest during the night and untangled all the knots that had been living there for months. I jumped out of bed and grabbed my phone. 7:10 a.m. The house wrapped around me in perfect silence. Not the heavy, suffocating kind that usually pressed against my eardrums, but something softer. If I could describe the sensation, it was like a safe, comforting place, so strange and different. Calm before the storm. Mom's perfume lingered in the air. She must have stood in my doorway before leaving, watching me sleep the way she used to when I was little. My bare feet hit the cold floor, sending shivers racing up my legs. The hallway stretched before me, morning light turning dust motes into tiny floating stars. The breakfast waiting under its cover released steam when I lifted it. The smell hit me first. Miso soup, rich and salty. Grilled fish with crispy edges. Rice was so perfectly cooked, each grain gleamed. Even tamagoyaki rolled into neat yellow spirals. Mom only cooked like this when anxiety was eating her alive. It was the same meal she'd made me before leaving for the United States, so I felt that same farewell atmosphere, something I was at least hoping wouldn't be true that time. Her note sat beside the plate, written in that careful script she used for important things. I hope you slept well, son. Call me if you need anything. I prepared breakfast for you. I'll try to contact the school principal as soon as I can. Working on getting that pest control appointment. Love you. The laugh bubbled up before I could stop it. Pest control. If only spiritual infestations were as simple as calling an exterminator. I ate everything. Every grain of rice. Every piece of fish. Every drop of soup. The food sat warm in my stomach, a solid anchor against whatever was coming. There's nothing like Mom's cooking, right? My poem lay where I'd left it on the table. The words stared back at me, each line a deliberate provocation with the title. Observer. The rest of the verses felt heavier now in the morning light. What had seemed clever last night now felt like signing my own death warrant. The poem had various words and verses designed to draw the spirit's attention to me when recited aloud. If all went well, the spirit would attempt to communicate, and perhaps I could even understand why it was bound to the chair. This was the right decision. The girls, Monica, Sayori, Yuri, Natsuki, weren't ready to face what lingered in the classroom. Something in me also whispered it was my fault that spirit had awakened. So, dealing with that should be the burden of Hiromi Ikeda's son. The paper crinkled as I folded it, edges sharp against my fingertips. I couldn't help but think as I left home. Do I have the courage to deal with the dead? Outside, the world had transformed overnight. Yesterday's rain had become today's fog, thick enough to taste. It clung to everything, turning familiar streets into something from a dream. Or a nightmare. The moisture beaded on my skin immediately, each droplet cold as ice. That was also my first day after experiencing what the spiritual world truly was like, so I could notice things I hadn't seen before. Looking up, I saw a bluish energy current cutting through the mist, slowly moving toward the school. I also saw some people walking on the other side of the street. I could clearly see their auras through the fog. I focused, trying to sense those no longer among the living. I stopped walking and scanned every direction, but nothing, until suddenly, "Good morning, Ken. I'm not late this time." My heart tried to escape through my throat. Sayori appeared out of absolute nowhere. Even with my new vision, she simply appeared from within that fog. "Jesus, Sayori." The words came out strangled. "I thought you were a ghost in all this fog." "Not yet." Her grin was too wide, too bright. "Wait, that came out wrong. I meant, oh, never mind. So, are you enjoying your new friends?" Straight to the point as always. But her eyes searched my face like she was reading a map. "Absolutely. Thanks for letting me join the club. It was way better than I imagined it would be. I'm actually excited to see everyone's poems today. I'm feeling way more energetic in case you didn't notice it." "Oh, I can tell. Your whole vibe is different today." She tilted her head, studying me. "But, did you manage to sleep well? You look less like a zombie and more like a person today." "Yeah. Best sleep I've had in years. It's amazing what a good night's rest can do." Her smile flickered. She wasn't used to this version of me, the one who smiled back at her. We walked through the fog together, our footsteps echoing strangely in the muffled world. She drifted closer with each step until her shoulder brushed mine. The contact sent warmth through my jacket, real and alive, and everything the thing in that classroom wasn't. So, her voice dropped to a whisper. Did any of our club members catch your eye, Mr. Ken? The question I'd been dreading and avoiding. Sayori's feelings were an open secret, written in every glance, every nervous laugh. Since middle school she'd carried this torch. And maybe she'd kept the literature club secret partly because of it. If I could read minds, she probably omitted it, fearing some girl there might steal my heart. A justifiable fear. It's too early to think about that stuff, but who knows? Maybe someday? Her smile dimmed but didn't die. But there was one thing she couldn't hide, her aura. I saw her yellow aura losing color and flickering with black at lightning speed, like frames flashing in an old film reel. Anyway, how's your mom? I still haven't seen her. You know how it is. Mom works too much. She barely got home last night and had to leave again already. But I think she'll be home after school today. By the way, if you're free, do you want to stop by my place? Sayori's feet stopped moving. Just stopped, like someone had pressed pause on her entire existence. Her eyes immediately went wide. Me? At your house? What do you mean, Ken? Yeah, do you want to? Mom's cooking is amazing, and it'd be great to have dinner together like old times. Or even better, we could invite everyone your parents too. Make it a proper gathering. Ah, I see. That would be nice. Pink bloomed across her cheeks as we started walking again. Only then did I notice what I'd said, and I felt my face getting hot too. But I didn't see her that way. In truth, I'd never seen anyone in that light. Good thing she looked away and didn't see how flustered I'd gotten. At the school gate, we performed our ritual separation. Her hand lingered on my arm for a heartbeat too long before she disappeared toward her classroom. The moment my feet crossed onto school grounds, everything changed. It was as if I'd entered enemy territory. The spiritual energy exerted pressure that squeezed my body like a soda can. Only when I was in the entrance hall did I notice the stares from the few students directed at me. For a moment I even wondered if they were ghosts, but no, definitely human. They looked like puppets at first glance, yet were merely glaring at me with their usual disdain. But as I approached one group, I heard a girl comment. It's so cold here today, don't you think, Hinako? True. It's never been like this. Maybe it's our punishment for still having to come to school this week. Well, the good part is we're together in this, right? The girl whose name I'd heard looked at me and stepped back, pulling her friend by the shoulder. That boy, see him? What about him? Hinako retreated another step, her eyes flickering between fear and fascination. She likes him. Who does? Hinako didn't answer. She just pulled her friend and whispered as they moved away. Don't look too much. She doesn't like it when we look at what's hers. For some reason, half my body bristled at those words. Still watching me, the two friends passed by as if they'd seen an actual ghost. Then I felt the amulet around my neck vibrate multiple times, sensed the pulse of energy radiating from it, which reminded me, shit, I forgot to remove it. Entering classroom 3A with that would have been like ringing a dinner bell for whatever was waiting in that corner. My fingers fumbled with the chain as I climbed the stairs, shoving it deep into my pocket. The weight of it felt heavier now. A secret that could get us all killed. When I entered classroom 2B, it was still my personal mini-hell. That place worsened with each school day. It radiated an indescribable boredom. Does time even more here? 7 students scattered across 30 desks. The teacher stood at the front, his eyes dead behind his glasses, clearly questioning every life choice that had led him to this moment. His voice droned on about something. Shakespeare? Quadratic equations? The words blurred together into white noise. Who cares? All I could think about was the 3rd floor. The bell's shrill cry released us from educational penitence. I didn't wait for the others to pack up. My chair scraped against linoleum as I stood, bag already in hand. The stairwell to the 3rd floor felt longer today. Each step echoed too loud in the enclosed space. The temperature dropped with each landing, subtle but undeniable. By the time I reached the 3rd floor hallway, my breath misted in the air. The fluorescent lights flickered in that same sick rhythm from yesterday. The door to classroom 3A waited at the end of the hallway. Even from here I could feel it. The wrongness. Like gravity worked differently around that room. The spiderwebs on the walls and ceiling had grown, and not subtly, the spider walking through that wing was growing more creative by the day. Should I go in the classroom alone? Or wait for them here? My hand found the doorknob before I'd made a decision. The metal burned cold against my palm. Through the door, I could almost hear something. A whisper? A laugh? The amulet. I could put it on just for a second. Just to see. No. Too dangerous. My hands were shaking. Deep breath. You're Ken Ikeda. Your mother is Hiromi Ikeda. You can handle one dead girl who... Ken is everything. Oh my God. Holy shit. The scream tore from my throat before I could stop it. My body spun so fast the world blurred. Yuri stood frozen behind me, one hand pressed to her chest, her purple eyes wide. She looked like I'd just knocked the ground from under her, and for a moment, I couldn't tell who'd been more scared, her or me. Ken, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to startle you. Please forgive me. Color drained from her face as she tried her best to apologize. Yuri. No, don't worry. You just caught me off guard. The laugh that escaped sounded like breaking glass. I was, lost in thought. Yeah, totally that. I looked to the doorknob. Oh, I'm sorry again. I should have announced myself better. She clutched her bag like a lifeline. At that moment I had an idea that sounded so ridiculous that voicing it was worse than facing what was inside that room. Yuri, can I ask you a favor? Of course. What is it? This will sound really stupid, but could you come into the classroom with me? The blush that exploded across her face could have powered a small city. Her bag slipped from her grip. Once again, I realized I'd said something I definitely shouldn't have. If I had a time machine, I'd be slamming the red button 15 times over. Sure, she whispered. Great. Come with me then. Together, we pushed open the door to classroom 3A. That embarrassment would be left for later or never. The wrongness hit like a physical force. The air was heavy, making breathing difficult. I could see visible air currents converging toward that corner to the last chair. My vision helped confirm the obvious. We were not alone. Hannah's POV. December 21, 2017, Thursday afternoon, classroom 3A. I feel good as new. But it's not nearly enough. They should be arriving soon. The anticipation had been eating me alive, or eating me dead if you will. Yesterday had been promising. That boy Ken had definitely seen me. The way his eyes had darted to my corner, the way his whole body had tensed. He knows I'm here. Given his lineage. I felt a storm of energy coming from that woman from earlier at the hospital. It was hard to believe she had such a pathetic child. But I could take advantage of that nonetheless. Ken was interesting, but Monica, on the other hand, God, I hate her. Hate her perfect face. Her perfect life. Her perfect inability to see what's right in front of her eyes. Why is she just perfect like that? What makes her so special that she can just ignore me? I've tried everything. I literally moved my old pencil with my powers and she thought the floor had some sort of special elevation. She is so fucking dumb it makes me sick. She just breezes through life in her little bubble of presidential competence and easy smiles. Like those girls. The ones who whispered behind their hands when they saw my second-hand uniform. Who made sure I always ate lunch alone. Did you see her shoes? I think they're held together with tape. She smells weird. Like mothballs. Don't let her sit with us. What if being poor is contagious? People like Monica don't know what it's like to be furniture. To be less than furniture. At least people notice when a chair is out of place. Maybe I should just materialize right in front of her perfect face. See how she explains that away. Oh, it must be a hallucination brought on by stress. Time to delegate more club duties. The thought made me want to scream. Or laugh. I couldn't tell the difference anymore. 13 years in this room had blurred a lot of things. Through the window, I watched the sun finally burning through the fog. Golden light painted lies across the courtyard, making everything look warm and safe as possible. Students walked between classes, chatting, laughing, living their small lives. I used to be one of them. Used to hurry across that same courtyard, head down, hoping no one would notice me. Hoping someone would notice me. The contradiction of being 15 and unwanted. Now I'd give anything to feel sun on my skin again. Real sun, not this filtered mockery that passed through me like I wasn't there. Which I really wasn't. I just wanted to be alive again. My projection could wander the school or even outside sometimes when the conditions were right. But even as I tried to escape this city, I always snapped back here eventually. To this corner. This chair. This prison. As if to distract myself from my thoughts, I heard a click to my right. The classroom door opened. Ken entered with Yuri trailing behind him like a nervous shadow. Interesting. Very interesting. Yuri, as expected, didn't notice me. Her awareness was limited to her books and her anxiety. But Ken, he was trying so hard not to look at me. His eyes swept the room in careful arcs, skipping over my corner like it didn't exist. That kind of practiced avoidance? That took effort. He knew exactly where I was. That's so exciting. Our eyes met for a fraction of a second before he turned away, suddenly fascinated by the whiteboard. But I'd seen it. The recognition. The fear in his bones. He sat down with Yuri, deliberately positioning himself with his back to me. As if not seeing me would make me go away. As if I hadn't spent 13 years being ignored. As if I hadn't become an expert at making myself impossible to ignore. I had a plan for today. It involved poems. I'd written one too after all. Spent all night crafting it. Poetry had been my escape once. Back when words on a page were the only friends who didn't judge me for my old uniform or my packed lunches. Now poetry would be my weapon. The paper was already formed in my hands, held together by my will. I just needed the right moment. The perfect moment to make him understand that ignoring me was no longer an option. Ken, I wanted to ask you something. Yuri's soft voice carried clearly in the empty room. You mentioned you enjoy horror. Would you mind starting this one? I wanted to discuss it with someone, but... She carefully pulled a book from her bag. Even from here I could see the cover. Dance of Hell. The artwork showed a figure caught mid-dance, body contorted into something that shouldn't be possible. The title stirred something in my memory. Like déjà vu in reverse. Ken took the book and I could see his shoulder muscles tense as he forced enthusiasm into his voice. I bet the only thing you're thinking about is how to deal with me. Oh, I've never read it, but that cover is amazing. What's it about, Yuri? There are these two girls, Aira and Camille, who always wanted to become dancers. But then their country gets invaded and they're captured and thrown into this camp. The guards figure out they're talented and force them to perform, basically as entertainment just to survive. Then an entity shows up offering them a way out, but the cost is horrifying and... Wait, was she mocking me? Is that what I am to them? Some malevolent entity making deals with the desperate? I didn't choose this. Didn't sign some contract written in blood. I just didn't want to disappear. Didn't want to be forgotten. Is that so wrong? But no. To them, I'm just another monster. If that's what they see, then so be it. Wow, I suddenly feel a chill, Yuri said, wrapping her arms around herself. Frost began forming on the windows. My spiritual energy took the shape I'd always wanted in my final days. I dreamed of becoming a demon spider, corroding the ones who hurt me, keeping the remains of their bodies tangled in my webs. Yes, that's what I am. A demon spider. And a girl who suffered more than she could ever bear. I guess it's time for a tasting. It's probably just the air conditioning. Do you know where the remote is? Ken's voice was so smooth. I liked that. He was so terrified it was pretty funny for me. Over there on the teacher's desk. I think 24 degrees Celsius is ideal. What's it set to now? 20 degrees Celsius. Liar. I could see the thermostat clearly from my corner. It read 24 degrees Celsius, just like always. He knew. He knew I was affecting the temperature and he was covering for me. What? No. I knew why. He was trying to protect them. Playing the hero. But heroes aren't real. I'd learned that 13 years ago. Fine. You want to play games, Ken Ikeda? Let's play my game. I began to expand my presence, letting my aura seep into the room like ink in water. The cold spread, carrying with it the weight of every lonely lunch, every whispered insult. The frost on the windows grew thicker, and in the ice crystals, words began to form just for a couple seconds. Acknowledge me. See me. Stop pretending. I smiled at Ken, making sure he could see it in his peripheral vision. Let my lips stretch wider than they should. Come on. Look at me. I know you want to. Look at me. Look at me, you coward. However, as if to ruin my show, the door burst open again. This time Natsuki, Sayori, and Monica entered together, laughing about something. Their joy hit me like acid. Hatred. Only hatred anchors me now. It's all I have left. I'm already dead after all. What do I have to lose? Good afternoon, everyone. You arrived early and look, our newcomer has found a new friend, the air conditioner. I hope you're setting it to the right temperature so we don't freeze in here, because I feel like I just entered Alaska. Monica's voice cut through my thoughts like nails on glass. So bright. So fake. So perfectly presidential. She glanced toward my corner as she spoke and I held my breath. Even though I didn't need to breathe. Her eyes slid past me like always. Like I was just another shadow. Just another piece of furniture in her perfect little world. No, Tim. There was something else. A tightness around her eyes? A slight hesitation before she looked away. Some primitive part of her brain was screaming warnings, even if her conscious mind refused to listen. Good. Let it grow. Let that unease burrow deep in your fragile and stupid little mind. Ken was saying something about the temperature, still maintaining his lie. They were all talking at once now, voices overlapping in a chaos that made my head spin. They laughed. Just like people laughed then. Laughed as they pushed me. Laughed as they watched me. Laughed as I fell. I hate them. All of them. Every single one. But especially her. Especially Monica, with her president smile and her president voice and her president way of making everything seem so easy. After what felt like hours but was probably minutes, Monica clapped her hands in that infuriating way of hers. Okay everyone, remember yesterday's assignment? I'd like to know if all of you managed to write a poem. They all had. Of course they had. Good little literature club members doing their homework. I'd done my homework too. Every night for 13 years I'd written poems on air, on frost, on shadow. Poems no one would ever read. Until now. Okay everyone, I'm glad you all finished the assignment. Sharing something so personal can be difficult in a group, so let's split into pairs. Each of you will share your poem with one other person for a more intimate discussion. Sounds good. Perfect. They arranged themselves around the room, and my dead heart leaped when Ken chose a seat in my row. Just a few seats ahead, but close. So close I could see the tension in his shoulders. His aura fascinated me. Most people's auras were simple. Fear was gray. Anger was red. But Ken swirled with colors I'd never seen before. Fear, yes, but also determination. Protection. And something else. Something that looked almost like understanding? No, that was impossible. No one understood. No one could understand what it was like to be trapped between life and death. But maybe this color is of those spiritually awakened? I think I saw a similar aura from that woman at the hospital, his mother. Sayori was with Monica, their heads bent together like conspirators. Natsuki and Yuri had paired off on the opposite side of the room. Which meant I could try it now. Hey Ken, can you hear me? No response. His shoulders tightened, but he didn't turn. I know you can hear me. How long are you going to pretend you can't? This is starting to get embarrassing. For you, I mean. After all, I have nothing but time. He pulled out his phone, scrolling through something with deliberate concentration. But I could see his aura churning, colors swirling faster with each word I spoke. Interesting. The mark I'd left on him yesterday was gone. Completely erased. Meanwhile, when I glanced at Monica, my mark on her spirit was still there, festering slightly around the edges. How interesting is this guy? I manifested the poem I'd spent all night writing. The paper felt real between my fingers, as solid as anything I could make. I let the paper flutter from my hand, guiding it with will until it landed perfectly by his foot. Ken went rigid. Every muscle locked at once. The fear that rolled off him was delicious, feeding me, making me stronger. More solid. More real. Anticipation was delicious, feeling the fear my presence caused, how I was simply impossible to ignore. Finally, someone would validate my existence. Finally. He looked down. His hand shook as he reached for the poem. Quick glances checked if the others had noticed. They hadn't. Hope you like it, hee. Ken stood so abruptly his chair scraped against the floor. Monica, I'm going to get some water real quick. I'll be right back. Sure, but don't take too long. Coward. He fled the room like it was on fire, clutching my poem like it might explode. Running away just like everyone always ran away when things got too real. Too scary for you? The way he ran off reminded me of the day I died, how all those worthless students fled when they saw the shit they'd pulled on me. I remember their terror-stricken faces, which I saw from the side because my neck had been twisted and broken in the fall. No. Calm down, Hannah. Don't think on the past for now. Now it's time for the recognition you've always wanted. He'd taken my poem. That was step one. Step two would come when he returned. I couldn't follow him into the hallway. My projection was in a sort of cool down in that moment. But I could feel him out there, could sense his terror and confusion mixing into something new. I laughed, the sound echoing in spaces between reality. The girls couldn't hear it, absorbed in their poetry. But I knew Ken could. Even through the walls. You can run, little mouse. But you can't hide forever. Not from me. I'd waited 13 years for someone who could see me. Really see me. Not just sense my presence like that woman yesterday, but see me for what I was. What I'd become. A girl who'd been pushed too far. Ignored too long. Forgotten too thoroughly. But not anymore. Today, Kenny Kato would read my poem. Would understand my story. Would know my name. And then things would finally change. The last chair creaked as I settled back into it, even though I had no weight to make it creak. Another little trick I'd learned. Another way to make myself real. Soon I wouldn't need tricks. Soon I'd be real enough. Soon you're all gonna be mine. Ken's POV. December 21st, 2017, Thursday afternoon. Outside classroom 3A. The hallway air hit my lungs like salvation, even though I could still feel her. Watching. Waiting. Laughing with that broken sound that made my skin crawl. My back hit the wall and I slid down until I was sitting on the floor. Very heroic. Very manly. The poem crumpled in my shaking hands. This was real. Actually, genuinely, horrifyingly real. A dead girl had just handed me a poem. A dead girl who'd been sitting in that corner for years, growing stronger, growing angrier. And I was the only one who could see her. No, that wasn't right. Mom had probably seen her too. That's why she'd been so shaken yesterday. Why she'd cooked enough breakfast to feed an army. Why she'd written pest control in quotes. Because it was worse. So much worse than just a pest. With my hands shaking so violently it felt like I was caught in an earthquake, I held the poem up before my eyes. It was badly crumpled, old, yellowed, and emitted a truly horrible smell, chemical, artificial. I smoothed out the paper to read what that thing wanted to share. Birds Without a Voice. By Hannah Ikeda. First flies the hungry pelican, eager for a reward. Its wings are at rest. Then the nightingale sings. Its melody is sweet yet broken, echoing through empty halls, where eyes never close. The owl observes from high above, cold wisdom and steady gaze. But even the keenest eyes turn away when darkness draws near. Light steps on worn floorboards. A shadow imitates flight. But there is no sky to soar in, no wind to carry it. Who will hear the muffled song? Who will notice the broken wing? The floor weighs heavier than air, heavier than iron. In the last chair, feathers pile up. A nest of bones. An endless night. Are your eyes shut? Can your eyes see? I sing to you, but you don't answer. Trembling wings, cold fingers. The bird waits. The words seem to pulse with their own cold life. Each line heavy with meaning I could almost grasp. Birds without voice. The last chair. Her seat. Her prison. Her throne. But it was the back of the page that made my blood freeze. Written in what looked like dried blood. You should check if I moved somewhere while you were reading, no? The paper slipped from my numb fingers. She could move. She wasn't bound to just that corner anymore. The rules were changing. She was changing. A gust of ice-cold wind sliced through the hallway. Impossible. We were indoors, but I could smell it on that wind. Chalk dust. Old tears. Something metallic that might have been blood. She also had a name now. Hannah Ikeda. Not just the thing in the corner, but a person. A girl who'd written poetry and attended classes. Never let them know you can see them. Mom's first rule was completely broken into pieces. But what choice did I have? Play by the rules and let her grow stronger in secret? Let her sink her claws into the others without warning? The image of Monica's aura, wounded and festering, flashed through my mind. She was already affecting them. Already leaving marks. I stumbled to the water fountain. The water tasted like copper pennies and did nothing to wash away the fear coating my throat. My reflection in the chrome fixture looked haunted. Pale skin. Wide eyes. The face of prey. I can't do this alone. The thought came unbidden but true. Every hero in every story had help. Friends. Mentors. Magic swords. I had an amulet that I couldn't wear and a mother who was too busy to help. But I also had Monica. Smart, perceptive Monica who'd notice something wrong even if she couldn't see it. Maybe I could tell her. Warn her. Give her some kind of defense. The walk back to classroom 3 felt like walking to my execution. Each step heavier than the last. My hand on the doorknob, I caught movement in the corner of my vision. A flicker of long black hair. The swish of an old uniform skirt. She was showing off now. Look what I can do. Look how real I'm becoming. Inside, she'd returned to her corner, but her entire form vibrated with barely contained energy. Her eyes, those terrible red eyes that might have been brown once, locked onto mine with laser focus. Acknowledge me, they said. Stop pretending, they begged. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction. Not yet. Not until I had a plan. I'm back. Is anyone available yet? I'm always available, to talk to you. Her voice slithered into my mind, clear as crystal. Not the whisper from before, but a full voice. A teenage girl's voice with edges sharp enough to cut. Then her tone shifted, becoming bitter. Actually, never mind, I won't bother you anymore. You can keep pretending I'm not here. I'm used to it. 13 years of practice makes perfect after all. 13 years. The number hit like a punch. 13 years of sitting in that corner and being ignored. What happened 13 years ago? 2004. I would have been 3. Too young to remember whatever tragedy had created Hana Ikeda. Natsuki saved me from my spiraling thoughts, waving me over with her typical impatience. Sayori and Monica are done now. Your turn, Romeo. I practically ran to Sayori, grateful for any excuse to put distance between me and that corner. Sayori bounced on her heels as I approached, clutching her poem like treasure. Hey Sayo. Hey Ken. Would you like to see mine first? I tried really hard on it. This is my first time writing something meant to be shared with anyone besides my stuffed animals. I can imagine. It's the same for me, but I think it's worth showing who we are. The effort is what counts, right? You always know just what to say, Ken. You should write fortune cookies. She giggled. Anyway, here it is. Her handwriting was exactly what I'd expect. Bubbly letters with hearts dotting the I's. But the words themselves. New light. Amid the darkness of uncertain days, a glow emerges. It's hope reborn among the awakened, revealing paths worth treading. A soft, warm light of a new dawn that banishes shadows. Every moment brings a reunion with living, like a rainbow after the storm. It brings the promise of bright colors and kindles a belief in truth. New light carrying new dreams, illuminating what once seemed in vain. It's a new beginning that embraces the wounded. The words blurred as I read them again and again. Was this about me joining the club? The imagery of light banishing shadows felt too pointed to be coincidence. And her writing? That wasn't her writing at all. I mean, I never read anything she wrote, to be honest, but it didn't match her personality at all. What does that mean? That's amazing, Sayo. I'd love to be that new light for you. Of course you are. Ever since you joined the club, everything feels brighter. Her smile flickered. I don't even know what to say, thanks Sayori. But hey, this poem, it's your first step toward that dream, right? The writing dream. I can't believe you still remember that. Her eyes went wide. You're the only one who never laughed when I said I wanted to be a writer. That's because I'd known what it was like to have impossible dreams. Like my dream of trying to be normal while my whole family had the affinity for the supernatural. Sayori's dream of writing stories that made people happy had seemed beautiful to my 8-year-old self, and it still did to this day. I will always believe in you. Keep trying, okay? Anyway, here's mine. Can you please recite it? It doesn't need to be out aloud for everyone to hear, just... Oh, okay, Ken. Ahem. I handed her my poem. This was the moment of truth, to draw the attention of the creature that seemed eager to speak with me. Even though I was trembling with fear and convinced I might die, I had the duty to draw that thing's focus toward me. If anything happens, I'll use the amulet. I took a deep breath and watched Sayori recite my poem. Observer. Calm and precise. Between small talks, she watches. Always in her corner, awaiting an opportunity, a cunning predator. She watches. In a desperate plan, her claws grow. She watches. Between soft sighs and muffled laughter, between the clink of teacups, she finds openings, moments of silence where she can slip in. She watches. Her eyes do not shine. They absorb, they ensnare. They follow every movement, and never look away. She watches. But what if, for a brief moment, you felt something move? Something that shouldn't be there? She watches. You look again at the same spot. The dark corner. There. She watches. Wow. I never imagined you wrote such dark stuff. I'm officially spooked. I hope nothing is watching me right now. She gave an exaggerated shiver. I expected something cute from you, maybe about puppies or clouds. Hearing that almost made me laugh. Sayori really thought I was some cute guy who hadn't spent his whole life listening to my mother tell the wildest stories a kid could hear. Mom's one flaw was that she didn't know how to tell bedtime stories. They were more like stay-awake stories. Anyway, I risked a glance at Hannah's corner. She hadn't moved, and it didn't seem like she cared about my writing at all. I guess the plan failed? I'm just trying something new. And you know what? Your reaction means it worked perfectly. What do you mean, Ken? Horror is meant to make people uneasy, right? Good writing makes readers feel something, even if it's uncomfortable. That's the power of words. The lie tasted necessary. I couldn't tell Sayori the truth. Couldn't watch her sunshine dim under the weight of knowing something dead and angry shared her clubroom, and I just tried contact with it through her. Time for the next part of my half-formed plan. I pulled out the note I'd prepared for Monica. Not a poem, but something else. Something that might save us all if I played it right. Navigating the room felt like crossing a minefield. Each step calculated to keep Hannah in my peripheral vision without looking at her directly. She watched my progress with those red eyes, patient as a spider. When Monica approached, I felt Hannah's attention sharpen. The boredom she seemed to feel while the poem was recited had completely dissipated. Perhaps her interest was the club president? I was trapped in so many simultaneous thoughts I didn't even realize I was daydreaming again. Earth to Ken, hello? Anyone home? Oh, hey Monica, sorry. I got distracted. I'd pay to read your mind right now. You look like you're solving world hunger. You really wouldn't want to be in my head right now. I'd love to be able to do that too, Ken. Hee hee. Hannah's voice slithered through my mind. Could she actually read thoughts? Or was she just trying to bait me? Better not to. Trust me. Anyway, Monica. I gestured to chairs farther from the others. Farther from Hannah. She'd have to turn her whole body to watch us directly, and I was betting she wouldn't. Not yet. Well, before we share poems, I need to tell you something. Oh. Her eyebrows rose. You look serious. Did something happen? Yes. 13 years ago. It is serious? I have this for you. I pulled out the folded note. Could you read it after class? I'm not ready for you to read it right now. It's a confession. The word hung between us like a bomb. Monica's face went through a symphony of emotions. Surprise. Confusion. A flash of panic. Then forced composure as she glanced around to see if anyone had heard. Keiken, what do you mean? A confession? Like a... Please don't make me explain here now. I pushed forward before she could finish. Take this other paper, it's my actual poem. The one for class. Can you do that for me? Please? Sure. Of course. She tucked my confession into her pocket with movements that screamed awkwardness. Then she read the poem. I watched her eyes track across the lines, saw the exact moment when understanding began to dawn. Her gaze flicked to the corner, fast as lightning, then back to the page. She leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. This is intense. Very atmospheric. So, should we talk more after class? I think I understand your poem now, but... Absolutely. I'm already looking forward to it. Right, Monica? My strategy was divided into two parts. The poem, Observer, carried the idea that if Monica had seen strange things the day before, she'd understand its meaning immediately. And the confession served as bait for Hannah. I wanted to act like I was flirting with the club president in order to provoke her. If anything would provoke a reaction from Hannah, it would be that. The temperature plummeted so fast I could see my breath for a split second. In the corner, Hannah's form flickered like a TV with bad reception. Her aura pulsed with rage, turning from smoke gray to void black. Pure wrath radiated from that corner. The windows rattled slightly in their frames. But she said nothing. Exactly what I'd expected. Spirits fed on attention but grew volatile when that attention was directed elsewhere. Especially romantic attention. It was like throwing gasoline on a fire. Mom's stories were proving accurate. I left Monica and headed toward where Natsuki and Yuri were still talking. But as I approached them, I saw something was very not right with both of them. Their body language screamed completely different. Yuri stood too straight, chin lifted in a way I'd never seen. Natsuki's face was flushed with genuine anger, her voice cut through the classroom. I can't believe the only thing you have to say is that my poem is cute. But I was only trying to be nice. Nice? You had to think for 5 whole minutes just to come up with nice? God, I hate fake people. Something was wrong. The words were too cruel. This wasn't them. Fine. You want honesty? I have a few suggestions. If you want a comprehensive list of everything wrong with your juvenile attempt at poetry. If I wanted suggestions, I'd ask someone whose opinion actually matters. My vision shifted, and I saw the source of my unease. Shadow tendrils stretching from both girls toward Hannah's corner. Dark threads pulsing with each cruel word. The spirit was feeding on their anger, growing stronger with each exchange. It was in that moment, when I was so focused on the girls and trying to figure out what was happening, that I made the mistake that would haunt me forever. I looked directly at Hannah. Our eyes met across the room and time literally stopped. The shadow tendrils vanished like smoke, as if she had immediately accomplished her goal. She started materializing before my eyes, her form, mere shadow until 5 minutes prior, began acquiring every detail. She was young. 15, maybe 17 when she died. Long black hair hung limp around a face that might have been pretty once. Her uniform was Hinode style but older, from an era when the skirts were longer. but it was her smile that made my soul freeze. Too wide. Lips stretched beyond what should be possible, showing teeth that were all wrong. It was the broken attempt of someone who'd forgotten how joy worked. She was in a transition state between a living person and one long dead, a monster and a child occupying the same body. I saw her aura transforming into a completely black void, like a living singularity. What had been translucent turned opaque, defined, real. Still trapped in that moment, which shouldn't have lasted more than a second but felt like 5 combined eternities, I saw her lips move, uttering a single word. Checkmate. The puppet strings snapped. Natsuki and Yuri turned to me in unison. Ken. She's being mean to me. Are you kidding? You started it. I was suddenly the referee in a game I hadn't asked to play. Hana had orchestrated the entire thing. Created conflict. Fed on it. Forced me to look at her to break her hold. And finally, she wanted me to turn to resolve it. She not only had the power to manipulate people's emotions but saw my suffering as a game. So much so that I saw her laughing at me, moving her eyes as if to say, "Entertain me." Everyone has different opinions, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. Poems and writing are subjective. Yes, there are technical criteria for literary contests, but that's not what we're here for. My idea was for each of us to learn from one another, to complement each other, not to compete. We're all here because we love literature, right? That's our common ground. The girls' artificial anger drained away, leaving them confused and shaken. But it had nothing to do with what I'd said. It was as if both had regained consciousness after being in a deep trance, hypnotized by that cruel demon who had tired of playing with their minds. Oh God, Ken, I'm so sorry. I don't know what came over me. Yuri's hands flew to her mouth. Nat, please forgive me. That wasn't. I would never. Calm down, Yuri. Natsuki looked equally disturbed. I don't know what happened with me too. We think differently about stuff, sure, but that would never make me. You're my friend. I'm so sorry for yelling at you. I've never had friends like this before. Tears were forming in Yuri's eyes. I don't deserve you all. I'm horrible. I'm a monster. I'm so sorry, Nat, everyone. Yuri ran out of the classroom and Natsuki immediately got up and ran after her. Wait, Yuri. Come back. Sayori looked between Monica and the door, torn, before hurrying after them. I'll help calm her down. Faster than we could react to that situation, Monica and I were alone in the classroom again. Only this time, it was us with that monster laughing non-stop, a laugh that sounded almost mechanical, like a cursed doll. Monica didn't seem to hear the sound, so her expression was closer to a neutral one. So, Monica's voice was carefully controlled. Do you have any idea what just happened? No clue, I lied. She moved to gather her things and I caught her eye, trying to convey urgency. Read the note, please. She gave the smallest nod. What kind of president am I? Unable to prevent conflict among my own members? Thank you for stepping in. I'll handle things here. Please go check on the others. Monica. Let's both go. I think they need their president more than they need me. You're right. We gathered our things with forced calm, pretending we couldn't feel the weight of dead eyes on our backs. I'll miss you, dear Ken. Hannah's voice followed us to the door. Do come back soon. We have so much to discuss. After all, the lights flickered. We're just getting started. The hallway air felt like freedom, like life, like everything the classroom wasn't. The game had changed. She'd shown her hand, demonstrated her power, marked her territory, made it clear that ignoring her was no longer an option. And somewhere in my pocket, a poem written in a dead girl's hand seemed to pulse with its own cold life, reminding me that we're cursed for life, and cursed even in death. Monica's POV. December 21, 2017, Thursday afternoon, Hinode Central High. We raced to the library, my best guess for where Yuri's went, located on the south side of the ground floor. The echo of our footsteps reverberated through the empty corridors, each step sending vibrations through the old wooden floors. When we finally reached the library, the other girls were already gathered around Yuri. She was crying so hard it seemed like she would break at any moment. Her shoulders shook violently, tears pouring down her cheeks in streams. They left wet trails, dripping onto her uniform. I couldn't fathom how such a trivial argument could trigger such an intense reaction. A dismissive part of me thought she was being overly dramatic, but I quickly silenced that unkind thought. It wasn't time for judgments. My role was to calm the situation. But just as I was about to say anything, Yuri, we finally found you. Ken was by my side, his expression determined, as if he knew what to do next. She's inconsolable. Nothing I said helped at all. Natsuki exclaimed in frustration, holding the timid girl tightly. What should we do? Sayori asked, looking at me. I was supposed to answer that question. What kind of leader would I be if I couldn't even help a friend? But I was at a loss for what to do. Conflicts were my greatest fear. Even though I'd always taken on leadership roles at school, like always been elected as class representative, I could never handle the pressure of real problems. At that moment, without even looking at me, Ken stepped closer to the three and said with a calm voice, Hey Yuri. It's okay now, I'm here to help. I just need you to focus on my voice. Can you do that? I think so. But I don't want you to see me like this. That's why I'm here to help you. Please come closer. It's okay now, I promise. What in the world? Ken retrieved a necklace with a small amulet from his pocket and gently, almost reverently, touched it to Yuri's forehead for a few seconds. The metal gleamed with a soft light that didn't match the library's fluorescent bulbs. He murmured, his voice surprisingly soothing. It's all right now. This will help you feel a little better. And just like that, as if a switch had been flipped, Yuri visibly calmed, her breathing evening out and allowing her to speak coherently again. Thank you. But, what happened to me? I think it was a panic attack. But don't worry, it's temporary. We'll take you to the infirmary for proper care, right? Yes, thank you. But, I will explain it later. I could only watch, stunned. How had Ken managed that? Sure, I hadn't known him for long, but this was unexpected. And I had a strong feeling he wasn't telling Yuri the whole truth either, likely for her own good. Looking more closely, something in the back of my mind clicked. I had seen that necklace on TV before, but I couldn't remember well. It was an interview with a famous person. No other details came, I just remembered that the person said it was a sacred object used for purification. She was a famous medium. Who was it again? I decided I would search later if I remembered, but right now, I had to save what was left of my reputation as a leader. We helped Yuri go to the infirmary on the first floor, and once she was settled there, everything calmed down. I felt like the incident was over for now, but something was still bothering me, like I was in the middle of a mystery I didn't have enough information to solve. But all these events in sequence couldn't be random. My rational mind could scream all it wanted, but my intuition was screaming this back at me. Already outside the infirmary, I closed the door and told everyone, Guys, you can head home. I'll stay here with her. But, I'm worried too. I'd like to stay. I understand, Natsuki, but I need to stay too. We have to show our support for our friend, right? Sayori intervened. All right, thank you everyone. I hope she gets better soon. So I sank into one of the chairs in the infirmary's waiting room, and we just sat there waiting for news. Time crawled by, and the afternoon sun dipped lower, stretching long, somber shadows across the waiting room. An uneasy silence settled over us, punctuated only by the occasional soft murmur from Sayori or a restless sigh from Natsuki. Ken sat a little apart, arms crossed, lost in thoughts that seemed miles away. He treated Yuri so well. Was I feeling jealous? That was impossible. I had only known him for one day, but was anything really making sense this week anyway? We exchanged a quick glance, which we both immediately looked away from. After a while, Yuri came out of the infirmary, and everything seemed fine with her at first glance. Her blood pressure and heart rate were normal. She had spent the entire time talking to the nurses, who recommended therapy sessions with the school psychologist. But it was still good news. Even with her head down, she seemed much calmer, but that wasn't the psychologist's work. Ken was hiding something from me, something that was somehow connected to all these strange events. It was already 6:30 p.m., and the outside world had turned completely dark. The infirmary windows showed the parking lot lights turning on, creating halos of light in the early evening mist. My report would have to wait. I silently prayed no other staff members from the school had noticed our prolonged presence. I could get into serious trouble if I had to explain all this situation to the principal. Someone who can't control their emotions has an outburst, and suddenly it's my responsibility? The thought surfaced, sharp and unwelcome. Wait, no. Why am I even thinking like this? I felt all my internal alarms go off at the same time. I couldn't think something so terrible about Yuri. That's not who I am. I immediately shook my head no, as discreetly as possible so no one would notice. I decided not to say anything and waited to see what Yuri would say. Thank you for waiting for me and sorry for the trouble. Nat, I don't need to apologize. I was too harsh on you too. Come here. And just like that, the whole fight ended in a hug. Why was I feeling like that wasn't even a real problem to begin with? An annoying voice echoed in my head, like a sigh behind the voices of all my friends. Good thing everything is settled now, everyone. I'm sorry, but I have to leave now. See you tomorrow, okay? Of course. Tomorrow will be a much better day, Sayori exclaimed. The girls and Ken agreed, and soon we all went our separate ways across the city. It was time to go home. Ken had walked home with Sayori, and Natsuki, ever protective, had gone with Yuri. I didn't even know where they lived. I only had a vague idea of where Sayori's house was, and I knew Ken lived near her since they were childhood friends. Anyway, luckily, going from school to home was easy since I lived in Hinode's downtown. The town was still bustling with early evening activity, but I was too lost in thought to care. A warm breeze rustled the leaves and a perfect full moon was beginning its ascent. The way back was simple: follow the main avenue and turn at the 7th block. I always thought I was lucky to have found a house near the school, but that day I was feeling the exact opposite. After walking for a few minutes, I was standing in front of my house. I opened the gate and took off my shoes. Already inside, the usual relief I always felt when seeing my sofa, my TV, my things, didn't come. I felt as empty as that house. I turned on the TV to see if there was anything to distract me, and for the first time since I bought that device, something interesting was on the local news. Now for our local news. We got reports of people spotting the famous medium Hiromi Ikeda at Hinode Station last night. The reason for her visit is unknown, but the city hall said in an interview that she's here at the mayor's request. As always, she draws curious looks, but her involvement and work remain a mystery. And now for the weather. Although tonight is a beautiful full moon, heavy rain is expected in the coming days with a thick morning fog. The report not only showed those images but also a few other pictures of that person, and that's when I realized. Ken said he was leaving early on Wednesday to meet his mother at the station, didn't he? Could it be? It makes sense now that I think about it. Speaking of him. I turned off the TV and went to my room. Before changing clothes or doing anything else, I quickly opened the letter Ken had asked me to read. In light of recent events, I doubted it was a confession. Thinking about it now, it seemed more like a secret message that no one else should read. Hi Monica, although I think you're beautiful and a fantastic person, this isn't a confession, I'm sorry. There's no right way to tell you what I'm about to say, so I'll be waiting for you at the city park, the one next to school, around 9 p.m. so we can talk properly. Since the interview, I've suspected something strange is happening in that classroom. At first, I thought it was just my imagination, but I guess it might be more than that. I'm writing this in the morning, so if you've had a day full of weird events and arguments, you will know I'm serious. After all, I intend to provoke it today and make it reveal itself. I didn't want to tell you anything until now to protect you. Also, if I hand you this letter, it means I couldn't deal with it by my own. I know you're a skeptic, but I'm sure you've noticed it too. Anyway, let's talk more at the park. I'll be waiting for you. Take care, Ken. With the letter in my hands, I felt my hands trembling. His tone was far too serious for this to be a mere prank. But considering everything that had happened, I had to admit there was no truly rational way to explain the profound uneasiness I'd felt or how that classroom had seemed so wrong yesterday. And reading that letter from Ken, which sounded much more like a cry for help, made me think that we were in danger. Looking back, Ken's subtle warnings and his tense glances seemed like desperate, unspoken pleas. Please don't look at that corner of the classroom, there's something there. There was no choice. I had to know what Ken had to tell me in person at the park. I was lucky to live alone and could afford to leave this late at night. My parents had rented this house for me so that I could attend a good school. They lived in the countryside, a life I had always hated. Living in the big city had been my dream since I was 7, but I hadn't gotten it yet since Hinode wasn't Tokyo. I went to take a quick shower and changed into something more comfortable. A small part of me thought the obvious. Was I going on a date? No, Monica, focus. You're trying to figure out what's happening to your friends. The rest can wait. I left the house. Luckily, the Central Park was also close to where I lived. There was no doubt I had chosen the best place in the city for someone who didn't like long distances. The streets were quieter now, almost deserted, a peaceful, almost unnervingly calm night. Yet, despite the quiet, I couldn't shake the prickling sensation that something was watching me. Each time I glanced around, though, there was nothing but shadows. The wind whispered through the trees lining the street. Walking in that silence was killing me. Sometimes, Hinode looked like a ghost town, but I knew people were just all home at that time of night. There wasn't a lot of nightlife in this place. This isn't Tokyo, right? The path was a bit more straightforward. I just had to follow the same main avenue, then turn left at the last blocks and 2 turns to the right. I waited longer than I would have liked to cross the street to the entrance of the Central Park. I wished I was nervous just because of that. After a few more minutes, I finally reached the park, which sat beside the central lake. It closed at midnight, so it was already empty. By the lakeside, I saw Ken leaning against one of the railings as if he were thinking, I didn't really expect you to actually come here. Moment of truth. Oh, Monica. I'm glad you came. I hope you're not mad at me. But, should I be? I'm curious to hear what you have to say. I didn't understand your letter at all. So, I came here to hear from you. I hope there's a good reason for all of this. I'm really exhausted from all this weird stuff happening. Ken seemed to search for the right words, his gaze steady on mine. I could try to convince you in many ways, Monica, but I think a demonstration will be more effective. Tell me, why were you thinking something so awful earlier? Thinking about what? I asked, a knot of apprehension tightening in my stomach. He quoted, his voice devoid of judgment. Someone who can't control their emotions has an outburst and it's my responsibility? I recoiled as if struck, a visceral chill shooting down my spine. What does that mean? How does he know I had thought something awful about Yuri in mind? That was impossible. Did I make it that obvious? No, there's no way. No. Don't worry, Monica. That thought isn't yours. It's Hannah's aura affecting you, it's affecting all of us. Oh, I'll admit this magic trick is pretty scary and… Hannah Ikeda. A girl between 13 and 17 years old at the time of her death. She died in classroom 3A and for some reason, is trapped in that last chair. That's pretty much all I know. It seems like she's been watching you all since the club started, but my presence has made her more aggressive. His voice was so cold it sounded like he was reading a document. There was no change in his tone, and with each word, it felt like my world was falling apart more and more. This is insane, I stammered, shaking my head. Why would a spirit be trapped in our classroom? Do you honestly expect me to believe these things even exist? I was a skeptic until recently, but I know now. They do exist. How can you be so sure? Part of me wished it was just a stupid prank by that guy, but his expression was firm and his eyes were too sharp for this to be a joke. I was raised in a religious family but never saw anything out of the ordinary. Until yesterday. I leaned against the railing by the lake and listened as Ken continued since I had no other choice. The dark water rippled gently, reflecting the faint glow of the moon, and the wind was blowing softly. What else could I do than to listen? I had to start accepting that reality no matter what. Then he gave me another poem on an old sheet of paper. She left this poem for me, which means she was either trying to participate in our activity, or it was a threat. The problem is that even though I know something about ghosts, there's not much I can do. Only my mother knows how to exorcise something like that. I'm just as tied up as you all are. Your mother? She is that famous medium they're talking about on TV. That question caught him by surprise. He didn't seem like the type who watched TV, but I seem to have hit the mark. Yeah. I don't know about the TV thing, but yes, my mother is the greatest spiritual medium in the world. Sorry I didn't mention it before, it's not really the kind of thing you say in a first conversation, right? Yeah, that's fair. I'm not sure if I believe all this thing about ghosts, mediums and all that, but as the supposed leader of the club, if something like this is really happening, go on, how can I help? For the first time I saw Ken smile at me. Somehow, my idea of helping seemed to light up something in his mind. I have to admit, I looked at his smile for a second longer than I should have. But he quickly answered me, throwing me right back to reality. Information. I couldn't find any records of Hannah Ikeda at school could be useful. Understanding her is the best we could do, I think. Anything else? Not more than that for now. But I think I got a place for you to start looking on. And that is, Class 3A of 2004 has 19 photos in its public yearbook. All the other classes have 20. That's a good place to start. She surely died there and they cover up in the best they could. We got to be careful if it's really a death that they don't want us to know about. 2004? That year wasn't particularly eventful. If a student really died in our school, it should be public knowledge or be talked about at least once. Unless the school might really have hidden what really happened to her. Central High is one of the most prestigious schools of the country. The news that a student died would ruin everything for them. It will be difficult to find any information about something that happened so long ago. I will try, but don't get your hopes up. I see. He let out a sigh. It was hard to believe, but I was really standing there, discussing dead student ghosts with that guy. The rational part of my brain still thought all of this was nonsense. An idea I would never normally entertain. Even so, Ken's conviction moved me. It made me want to believe with him. The way he was so sure of his own ideas, the way he handled all of this like someone who already knew this spirit world from the inside. Besides, in his favor, he really was the son of the greatest spiritual medium in the world, an extremely famous person surrounded by mysteries. It couldn't be a lie or a joke. There really was a ghost in our classroom. Trying to understand more about all of this, I started speaking again. Ken, sorry for disappointing you and having not much I can do. This is all too new for me. I don't know if I really believe in what you're saying, but if it's really real, can we at least protect ourselves from this presence? Memories from yesterday flooded my mind. If all that stuff was happening because of this spirit in the last chair, I was probably at risk too. Everything I witnessed in the classroom started to make perfect sense, like puzzle pieces I finally realized had been upside down from the start, and the solution had always been right in front of me. Did I really see a smile when I closed that door yesterday? The answer was obvious now. This spirit has one recurring trait: she wants to feel acknowledged, like a child trying to get someone's attention. And I think I made her feel noticed. I don't know what might happen when we enter that room again tomorrow. Ken continued after a long, uneasy pause, his voice soft but laced with an undeniable vulnerability. Monica, I don't know what tomorrow holds. But I do know one thing: Hannah isn't just going to fade away. If she's this anchored to the classroom, we need to find a way to understand her. Even if that means. He hesitated, his Adam's apple bobbing as he swallowed hard. Reaching out to her again. I felt my pulse quicken at his words. I didn't believe in ghosts for my whole life, but why did I felt so scared at that thought? Something inside me said, do not try this, run away from that classroom. Breathe, Monica, you're the rational one here. Think clearly. Reaching out? You're suggesting we make contact on purpose? I asked, my voice tinged with disbelief. If something like that exists, how do we even know she can be reasoned with, or that we won't make things worse by talking to her? Ken met my eyes, his expression heavy with a mixture of resolve and doubt. It's a risk, he admitted, but we can't let her control us through fear. You saw what happened with Yuri. If this keeps escalating, someone could get hurt, or worse. You saw what happened to Yuri. Did I hear that right? Was he saying all that argument was caused by a ghost trapped in the classroom for 13 years, who had just decided to torment us after all this time? Am I dreaming? Have we gone insane? In that moment, my rational side broke for good. Even with so much resistance, I couldn't hold on anymore. The way he talked, the way the girls fought, there was no logical explanation for any of it. Seems I lost this one. All right, Ken, you convinced me, I said, my voice firm. We'll figure this out together. But no impulsive stunts, okay? We take this one step at a time. Ken nodded, a flicker of relief crossing his face. One step at a time it is, he echoed. But, do you really believe me? You're not just saying that to make me feel better, right? His question was almost funny. It was as if he could read my mind. Maybe I was being too deliberate in my body language, and he probably felt something like, she probably thinks I'm insane. Which was not wrong though. But what can I do? I was already officially involved anyway. Let's see what's going to come out of this adventure. The first person who supported my idea to start the club was Sayori, and you're her friend. So, I can give you the benefit of the doubt this time. You can count me in, I will do what I can to help. Oh, thanks for trusting in me, but I shouldn't have told you everything. You can be in danger too. I was already in danger, and that was certain. If Hannah had been there this whole time, she would probably have been furious at me, who kept ignoring her. Don't worry, you don't need to handle everything alone anymore. See you tomorrow, Ken. Take care and... Are you leaving already? Did I say something wrong? No, but it's getting a bit late, right? I wish you could see this beautiful view with me too. Of course, I meant to warn you and all, but... Hearing that was almost as scary as this whole conversation about spirits and the supernatural. He really wanted me to stay. So many people had said that to me before, said they wanted my company, but they were nothing more than fake guys trying to take advantage. But Ken, there was something different about him. He really seemed sincere. And thinking about the whole sequence of weird events these days, I don't blame him for hiding the truth at first. I would have done the same. No one is prepared to deal with a fucking ghost in a classroom. It was impressive he wasn't panicking until now. So I decided to play along. Well, so it wasn't entirely a lie? You wanted to see me after all? If that's the case, I can stay a bit longer. I wanted to warn you, yes, but I would love the company too. That guy was awful at flirting, but that was almost cute. Maybe I could stay a bit more. I walked up to his side, and from there we could see the whole landscape in front of us. It really was a beautiful, starry night. The sky was a canvas where we could see the Milky Way, countless stars, and even Venus that was shining brighter like always. It had been so long since I had last looked at the sky. Most of my time had always been dedicated to a goal or target. For the first time, I felt I could chill. I couldn't figure out that boy's heart, but I felt I was in the right place at the right time. My heart was beating faster than usual, which had never happened before. Why is that? I'm scared, that's probably why. But scared of what, exactly? My emotions were so mixed up that I couldn't focus on anything anymore. That is, until he looked at me again. It worked almost like a reset. I didn't even notice, but I was smiling in that moment too. What's happening to me? I felt right away that I was blushing. I looked away embarrassed. I came here in the first place just to understand what's going on. But now, out of nowhere, I'm smiling like an idiot and my heart is beating like this. Are you warning me? Are you asking me to stay? Are you flirting with me? What exactly are you doing? You're so confusing, Ken. He laughed softly and said, you can be sure of that. Even with everything going on, even with the ghost, the danger, the unanswered questions. Somehow, in that moment, I didn't want to be anywhere else. Ken's POV. December 22, 2017, Friday morning, Old Hinode. This time, it wasn't the nightmares that stole my sleep but everything that happened at the park. Being with Monica was absolutely fantastic. She's such great company. But unfortunately, I couldn't focus on that for now. That good feeling faded the moment I remembered all of my problems. Fridays were supposed to be a relief, the gateway to the weekend. But my heart hammered against my ribs with a frantic rhythm. I had this sickening, pervasive feeling that something terrible was going to happen at school. Noticing I was awake, my mom knocked on the already open door and said, "Good morning, son. Wow, it's been a while since I've seen you sleeping that well 2 days in a row, hee." Good morning, Mom. Yeah, I'm as okay as it can be. I have no idea how you deal with this stuff every day. This supernatural stuff sure is stressful. You will figure it out soon enough. Anyway, your aura seems brighter today. Is there a reason for your aura shining like the sun? Oh, I see. Tell me who's the lucky one. You know it's impossible to lie to me, right? It was kind of funny. If there's one thing I'm sure of in life, it's that I'll never fully get used to how blunt and straightforward my mom was about everything. Maybe I inherited a bit of that from her too. It's Miss Monica, the one I told you. Maybe this so-called evil spirit is a Cupid after all? She forced a laugh. So, any progress on this case? Well, look at this. The supposed ghost wrote it, and I think I know a thing or two about who she was in life, which means we're not that much in the dark anymore. I laid out everything I knew about Hannah, the poem she'd given me, the chilling encounter, and every detail of my tense date with Monica at the park just for good measure. Mom listened with unwavering attention, occasionally jotting notes in the worn leather notebook she always used for her cases. When she finished taking several notes, my mother gave her verdict. Her laughter faded. I see. Ken, I need you to hear this carefully. Of course, Mom. I'm ready. This entire town could be at risk, Ken, if this spirit isn't guided back into the natural cycle. Everyone is in terrible danger. After finishing my case in the hospital, I found a projection of this spirit just wandering around. She is trouble. Of that sorts that I will need backup to deal with it. I wasn't even sure how to respond. I just clasped my hands together and waited for Mom to continue. Also in that day, I decided to check Central High's entrance and I saw this Hannah smiling from your classroom window. And with a quick aura reading, we're dealing with something unprecedented. She was manifesting some of the darkest thoughts I ever saw a kid produce. This is really scaring me. I'm sorry, there's no other way to tell you this. But I do have good news. I reported this as an emergency to my government contacts, and we'll have official permission to access the school building this Sunday. We're going to war with that thing. In all my years of life, I had never heard my mother say she was going to war. She had dealt with dozens of spirits, with places cursed by tragedies that would make anyone lose faith in humanity, and even so, my mother judged Hannah as a bigger problem than all of that. I needed some guidance, some instruction. And what should we do in the meantime? Well, live your normal lives. I felt like complaining, like yelling at her after such an absurd answer, but the way she looked at me was more than enough to make me lower my head and just grumble like I was a child again. Mom saying all this and then telling me to just live normally sounds pretty hard, doesn't it? The problem, Ken, is that all your lives are already at risk. Going to school or not doesn't change that. Time and space work differently for spirits. They communicate at the speed of thought. The best thing to do is to act like everything's fine. I promise it'll be okay. I'll watch over outside the school during this entire day. Nothing bad will happen. Well, that's somewhat of a relief. Mom, I need to go now. Is that okay? Right, it's about time. Good luck, son. Remember what I said, we'll figure this out. I will just get some stuff done here and I will be at the school entrance monitoring it. With that, I got up and prepared as quickly as possible. Outside my house, the streets were even quieter than usual. You'd have to be pretty crazy to go to school at the end of the year so close to Christmas and on a fucking Friday. Last day. Sayori was either running late or hadn't come at all. I didn't see her in the neighborhood. But what really mattered was seeing her and the others at the club. Hannah was 100% of my concerns that week. My entire day revolved around facing her directly. Even so, walking through the school alone felt wrong. I was way too used to walking with Sayori, and I was too embarrassed to ask my mom to come with me, especially since she was busy with phone calls with all those government people. I didn't even pay attention on my way to school. Only when I saw the entrance right in front of me did I realize where I was. It felt like I was either late or way too early, since there were practically no other students walking my way. I went from the hall to the second floor in that same slow dragging walk as always. But before entering classroom 2B, I saw a poster that said, "Join us for the Winter Festival on Christmas morning." There were several students on that poster, all smiling with pictures of lots of activities. It looked like a fun festival. I guess it's the event where all the school clubs participate and I chose to ignore every year. I hope I don't have to take part in that. I'll ask the girls about it later. As if I had time for school events while the world is falling apart. I walked into my classroom and sat in a random chair. Wait, there was only the teacher in the room. I was really the only student in class. Last day, Ken, you should be happy about that. The teacher spoke to me for the first time the entire year. I was always that kind of student who made himself invisible, but this time, it was impossible to escape. He was an old man, probably in his late 60s, with deep wrinkles carved into his face like dry riverbeds. His gray hair was thinning, and his glasses always seemed to slide a little down his nose. His voice was low, the kind of voice that people ignore because it sounds like background noise. But when he wanted to, he could stare at you like he was reading your entire soul. He wasn't a bad person, just someone who had probably seen way too many students come and go to still care. I don't know if happy is the right word, but relieved might be. You know, I said, scratching the back of my neck. The teacher adjusted his glasses, studying me for a second longer than necessary. Relieved, huh? That's not something I hear much around this time of year. Usually, students feel tired, anxious, stressed about exams or the festival. Yeah, I guess I've been dealing with other kinds of stress. He hummed softly, a sound halfway between agreement and curiosity. Sometimes, life throws things at us that school can't prepare us for. Maybe things that aren't even in the textbooks, if only all the answers were on them. I kept quiet, not really knowing what to say to that. He smiled faintly, almost like he'd given up on pressing further. Well, whatever it is, I hope you find your way through it. But Ken Ikeda. Yes. You were always the kind of kid that didn't pay attention to anything. The world is moving around you over and over. If you keep trying to ignore it, the world will force you to look back at it. The weight in his gaze lingered just for a moment, and then he turned back to his papers as if the whole exchange hadn't happened. I didn't know what to say, so I just went quiet. He wasn't interested on doing a class for a single student, it seemed. I'll be here correcting papers, just do whatever you like. Yeah, I knew it. Since there was nothing else for me to do until class actually started, I took the chance, grabbed my phone, and sent Monica a message. Ken, good morning. Sorry to bother you, Moni, but do you mind arriving at the club a little earlier today to check if everything's okay in the classroom? After about 10 long minutes, she replied. Monica, I was going to ask the same thing. There's a part of me that wants to see if all of that's really true. Just need to finish some stuff for the student council. See you in 20. I took advantage of the quiet room to think of a plan. We had something very dangerous to deal with no way to defend ourselves. Moving the club to another room was useless. Maybe seeking more contact with it was a better way out? The questions piled up so much in my mind that soon my time was up. So I said goodbye to the teacher, who didn't mind letting me leave a little early. I left classroom 2B and took the rattling old elevator to the 3rd floor. As I stepped into the familiar, dim hallway, I saw Monica waiting near the door to 3A. She looked frayed, nervously tapping her left foot, pacing back and forth with a worried crease between her brows. I'm so glad you're here, Ken. I don't know if it's just in my head, but I was going crazy here. Do you really think there's something there? I swear I heard whispers. Let's check and find out. I walked toward the dreaded classroom 3A and glanced at Monica before opening the door. It was time to face this fear and try our best to create a good atmosphere for the club while pretending everything was normal. That was the plan on paper, but so close to the threat, countless questions flooded my mind. What if she kills us the moment we open the door? What if I was the reason Hannah felt noticed in the first place? What if she possesses one of us? When we finally stepped into the room, I felt like crying for the first time since the start of this crazy week. Because Hannah was just no longer there. The last desk stood empty and clean, the oppressive gloom that usually clung to that corner inexplicably lifted, making it seem almost brighter. I lunged toward that desk. There had to be an explanation. And there was. I called Monica over to see it with me. It was a note on the same old paper Hannah had used for the previous poem. She left a simple message in one sentence written with what looked like to be human blood, and we could barely imagine where she even got it from. Where am I now? She's gone. It's hard to believe in these things, but I've been here for weeks and it's never been this clear here. Even the air has changed. Where could she be right now? Monica hugged herself, her arms wrapping tightly around her own body, as if squeezing hard enough could hold everything together. Her fingertips pressed into her sleeves, searching for some kind of warmth, something solid to hold on to. But the cold wouldn't go away. The situation had just shifted entirely. Hannah's spirit could now be anywhere in the school, wandering through other rooms, controlling whoever she wanted to control. She was unpredictable now. She could literally be inside the walls. And now, what do we do? Monica asked, touching the desk, searching for any additional clues. The usual. We don't have much to do here. The best we can do is prevent the girls from panicking, and we also need to figure out yesterday's situation, remember? Oh, Yuri and Natsuki. I almost forgot. It's fine, I can handle it. Anyway, I couldn't write anything about the poems yesterday. Do you think I could? It's Friday. Let's let everyone take it easy today, and if they wrote anything, we'll deal with it. Sure. Before the other girls arrived, we went to opposite ends of the classroom to hide our proximity. I took the chance to pick up a book my mom had recommended. Stories and Studies of Strange Things. That book had a weird aura surrounding it, and since my mom had left it in my bag, there had to be a good reason for me to read it. The first story I read was about Naperbo, a woman who was said to have no face. Legend had it that if you stared at her too long, your own features would melt away. I shook my head, trying to dismiss that image, and kept reading. But something about the idea, the quiet horror of it, stayed with me, a cold knot in my stomach. Meanwhile, Monica appeared to be working on a document with the school's name on the cover, likely the report she needed to finish. While we were both distracted, the classroom door suddenly opened. We looked at each other, our eyes widened in fear. But it was just a false alarm. Hello? You got here early today. Wow, I haven't seen you yet, Ken. Where have you been? Sayori said with a smile that seemed really forced. Come to think of it, she really had been distant, almost as if avoiding me. Was something going on? Hey Sayo, I came early because my class ended quickly. I was like, the only student there, and before I could finish, Natsuki and Yuri appeared as well. They seemed to have made amends, considering they were walking together. Good afternoon. Wow. Everyone's already here? Yuri seemed frustrated by the sight. You make it sound like you didn't want people here. Natsuki jumped in. Oh, no, please, that's not what I meant. Alright, let's stop this before it escalates again, shall we? Before I got up to address the girls, I checked their auras. Yuri was still very volatile. You could feel her stress from a mile away. But I couldn't blame her. She was the most susceptible to Hannah's attack. Or was she? Sayori was glowing, but it was a dull color, not very transparent, but what really mattered was that she wasn't marked. Same for Natsuki, no one was showing any obvious abnormal signs. But what if that's exactly what she wanted me to think? What? Hello everyone. I hope you're all doing well. I understand Yuri would like a space to read in peace, but that's exactly what we're doing today, right, Monica? I said, looking at the club president. Oh, I would mention that today, everyone is free to do whatever you want. No scheduled activities. We'll share poems again on Tuesday since Monday is the winter festival. The room went silent at the mention of the festival. It was something I had really forgotten to ask about. After all, the festival was when all the clubs did several activities open to the public. I looked at Sayori and she understood immediately. I forgot to mention it. Sayori said, scratching the back of her neck. She blushed slightly, looking embarrassed. The Winter Festival is an event held by the school clubs every year during Christmas. This would be our first event since we're a new club. Monica explained, taking the lead. I see. So, I guess clubs have to be at least a year old to participate. I think I heard that somewhere. I said, curious. Yes, we're not required to join, but I'd like to do something for the event. Letting it pass in blank might leave a bad impression. More silence filled the room. What could we possibly do for a school event? given we already had a complicated theme and were such a new group. Makes sense. Do we really have to participate? I'm not exactly excited about a year-end event. Natsuki was never one to hold back her thoughts. I was glad that she was like that. I'm not as sure anymore, but I'd rather hear from all of you. We just need to decide whether we should participate or not. If not, at least we should attend on Monday to appreciate the other club's presentations. Reading the room was almost a skill of mine. Monica seemed more inclined to skip the event, as discussing it on the Friday before didn't leave much time for planning. No one else seemed to have given it a thought either. Suggesting something didn't feel like a good idea, so I stayed quiet. Noticing our apparent reluctance, Monica sighed in relief and said, "No need to give me that look. We're not required to participate this year. Don't forget to come on Monday and then we'll officially be on break. Oh, and Ken, the club will continue to meet during the holidays." "Have you already decided the days and times, Monica?" Yuri chimed in. I could see the relief on her face from not having to present anything at the festival. "Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 a.m. to noon." She sighed and continued, "Okay everyone, today is free so feel at home. I need to keep working on my report. It's the last day for me to finish this." The conversation ended and everyone scattered to their corners. I decided it was a good idea to get to know my new friends better. After all, I hadn't had many chances to talk with them. It was a good way to pass the time, until something happened. Nothing's going to happen, right? That's why. "What are you reading, Yuri?" "Oh, Ken. Please sit down. By the way, I didn't get a chance to thank you properly. Thank you so much for helping me calm down, and I'm sorry about what happened." "You shouldn't see me like that. It's water under the bridge. Don't worry about it, I'm just glad I was able to help." Yuri leaned toward me, thinking her question should be asked discreetly. But I couldn't help but be curious. "What about this necklace? I've never felt so calm in my entire life." "Magic powers, as someone said to me yesterday. You're a wizard, Ken." I tried to make a joke, but that really sounded funnier in my head. She chuckled softly. "I'm serious. I think an explanation would be nice." "Is it something mystical?" "My mom is a famous medium. That is the explanation." "Oh, so I imagine you follow the family tradition." "You could say I'm still discovering myself, but yes, I recently decided to follow in my mother's footsteps." "I hope it's not too weird for you." "It's still weird for me to just talk about my family." "Why feel ashamed? I think it's a beautiful job. Just the other day, I read an article about mediums who travel the world to help people they don't even know. And even more, one of them doesn't charge for her services. I saw her doing volunteer work in conflict zones." "Yeah, that is probably my mother. Hiromi Ikeda is her name." "Oh, I see. I knew I heard that name. Yes, you should be proud of her. You are amazing people." "Ha, don't say things like that, Yuri. Wait a minute, she is calling me. Tell her I say hi." I walked to the chair in the back of the room. I wasn't expecting a call from my mom at that time. It definitely wasn't good news. Did she find Hannah wandering somewhere else? "Hiromi, hi son. Good morning again. Well, I have taken some time to visit your school." I was observing from a distance, and the aura of that spirit had vanished entirely. "What happened?" "Ken, I was going to ask you the same thing. It just disappeared. There's no sign of it here in the room. Maybe it got freed? Gave up on haunting this place?" "Hiromi, that's possible, but I'll stay here observing. We're closing the school this weekend for a thorough inspection, and the government became concerned after reading my report. There's already a commotion happening." "Ken, that makes sense. I will call if anything happens. Please take care out there." "I love you, Mom." "Hiromi, love you too, son. Yeah, please call me if you need anything." My mom was amazing. She was still working even though she should have been asleep at that hour. She had been caring for all of us. It was as if she had never slept or rested. But it bothered me a little. I always left her all the responsibility for my problems. I needed to start taking care of myself and resolving things independently. Anyway, something told me this had been too easy. That spirit must be hiding somewhere in a corner of the school. She had determined eyes. I could really say that she wouldn't suddenly give up. Either way, I wanted to chat with the other girls, but then I started to feel dazed. Everything began to spin, so I quickly sat on the floor and murmured for help. "Everyone, I'm not feeling well." Monica reacted first, followed by all the girls. They screamed my name in unison. "Ken, what happened? Someone call the nurse, please." I heard Monica saying something like that as everything slowed down. This didn't feel like fainting. It was a calling. A voice became more evident as I moved my eyes, trying to wake up. "Did you really think I was just gone?" Our fun is just starting. The world tilted, colors bleeding together like watercolors in rain. But through the haze I saw her, Hannah, standing in the center of the classroom, no longer confined to that last chair. Her form flickered between solid and translucent, her school uniform rippling as if underwater. The girls couldn't see her, but I could feel their panic, their voices becoming distant echoes as Hannah's presence filled my vision. "Finally," she whispered, her voice both childlike and malicious. "Someone who can truly see me. Let's play a game, Ken. Just you and me." Then everything went black. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed. Support the writer. Don't forget to like, sub, share, and donate for more videos.